Hello, entrepreneurs. You are tuned into the non-corporate network. You are watching Entreprenews, a combination of CNBC and ESPN. Dustin and I debate the top 6 trending small business headlines for 3 minutes each. We each give our take.
I get the win.
You really threw me off there.
They Monday morning.
Christen me with the belt crown, and then we get on with the rest of our day. But thank you guys for being with us. We are fired up to bring you some high octane stories. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add before we dive into this thing?
I appreciate you guys tuning in. You're watching Non-Corporate Network. We're just trying to deliver entrepreneurial news to entrepreneurs.
NCN, the worldwide leader in entrepreneurship. Thank you for being with us. Okay, so diving into our first story, Antitrust hearing with CEOs of Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Apple happening on Wednesday. The House Judiciary Committee is having a hearing with the CEOs of these companies as a part of a year-long investigation into the tech sector's anti-competitive behavior. The hearing will be conducted remotely to adhere to COVID social distancing guidelines. There's some abuses as a part of each of these companies. CEOs control the ad market, Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp and Instagram, Apple's App Store policies, and Amazon's treatment of third-party sellers. But again, do you think they're going to make policy? And is this something that they're in violation of?
No, I don't think they're gonna make any policy anytime soon. I mean, we just made a sizzle reel, and we can go back to not that long ago whenever it was asked, how do you make money? And so I mean, if you don't know how some of these businesses are making money, I mean, that's the first part of enacting some laws. But I mean, the antitrust law really goes down to protecting consumers, and I think that's where the loophole is and where these companies are getting away with it. The consumers are actually benefiting. It's the middlemen or the vendors that are essentially getting squeezed. I mean, I think you have some numbers on the App Store. It's like they charge 30% of all revenue, where sure, it's free for us consumers, but that person that's actually delivering the service or the product is the one that's being squeezed. And so going back to what we said on our last episode, it's not so much of new laws. It's just going back and revisiting laws that were created back in the 40s, 50s, whatever it may be. But I don't think it's going to be passed anytime soon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the consumer is actually these businesses and the developers and the businesses that are putting their products on the App Store, putting their advertising up. Those are the consumers. Those are the ones that are paying for this. And they're the ones that are being gouged by, a variety of different things. So, I mean, whether it's the 30% commission that Apple is taking on any product that touches the App Store, where it's a necessity that you have to be on the App Store if you're developing an app, right? You have to be on the Apple App Store. And so you have no option but to take a 30% cut out of that. And then, looking at WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, they own the entire ad platform. Same with Google. They own the entire ad platform. They can set their own price. They can say it's based off demand or it's based off of supply of how much ad space there is. But at the end of the day, it really is just comes down to them setting the price. And then, the commissions with Amazon sellers, don't even get me started on that. They're just continuing to hack away the commission that they're paying the sellers because they know they own the marketplace and there's nothing those people can do. So yeah, the end consumer might be getting a discount, but their consumer, the one that's paying them money, is getting gypped here.
Yeah, I mean, some of those, it's tough, but let me remind you of Friday when you were so pumped about Shopify and helping the Amazon seller. I mean, there are things that are being done, and that's the beauty of American capitalism is some other companies are going to see where people are getting squeezed and create some type of opportunity where they're going to come down on fees, and then you're going to have a wave of people that shift over. But I mean, to your point, the ad platforms and all that, I think it's going to be a deeper discussion and one that'll take time.
I will say I was pumped about Shopify because it's going to be an exodus from Amazon, not because it's going to help Amazon. But yeah, I digress.
Awesome. Thanks for digressing. On to our next story. 92% of U.S. businesses have reinvented themselves. Essentially, they're pivoting. I mean, I'm surprised this number isn't 100%. But according to those that are pivoting, what they are doing is they're creating new online delivery channels, new virtual services, offline delivery channels. They're creating new products and they're finding new customers. Those that are pivoting are 3x likelier to see higher revenues this year, with 51% of those people that are pivoting are reporting forecasts of revenue higher in 2020 than pre-COVID. And so the biggest barrier to pivoting, though, is employees lack the knowledge or education to really help with that pivot. The scarcity of cash, which I don't know how that happens with the PPP loans out there. Setting up online delivery. So it's a lot of technology and knowledge that's preventing businesses from pivoting. Where my mind goes, are we so doom and gloom right now, or are we going to look back in 5 years and go, wow, what a good time? I mean, it wasn't fun to go through, but with all this pivoting from businesses to consumers, I mean, we might see huge efficiencies in just how people operate in their day to day.
Yeah, I mean, COVID is really going to be known as the catalyst that kind of sparked consumer adoption of a lot of things, whether it be online delivery, whether it be video conferencing, whether it be remote work. It really kind of made us step up to the plate as consumers and adopt a lot of these things. So I think in that sense, it's definitely interesting. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, the education is going to be a barrier, and it's scarce. So you're going to have to pay people more to have specific skill sets to help you to innovate. And with we talked about last week, 40% of small businesses are on the rocks in the next 3 months, could be going out of business. And we've already seen a lot of businesses go out of business. I think it's too little too late that now we're just starting to pivot. People thought that this was going to kind of go back to normalcy and they weren't going to have to make these crazy adjustments or huge investments into their technology and the website and everything else. And now when they're sitting on, 1 or 2 months more cash, it's not like they can just turn it all around. So there was really not a lot of foresight, and the media kind of misled what this was going to really look like for small businesses. And so it's a bummer, but I'm still pretty doom and gloom for those businesses that are already struggling.
Yeah. I mean, just like with anything that you take 1 or 2 steps back to take 10 forward, I mean, you're going to have some stuff that falls off. I mean, it's the unfortunate side effect to this. But I mean, one thing that we mentioned is the education. I mean, how are we rethinking education as it is today? I mean, is it as powerful to solve for X when we know computers can do that? Or is it more important to learn coding, AI, blockchain, all those up and coming technologies where it's if we know that things are going this way, should we start teaching that in our school systems?
You should ask somebody that is in charge of education or on the board of education for colleges. So I'm not seeing much of that.
Lots of conversations. So on to our next story. So COVID fee. There's lots of businesses that are starting to implement this, from dentists to restaurants to waxing salons to pretty much everyone. But it's essentially a line item that's an extra fee, just like whenever you go to fly. There are extra costs whenever you have to operate at 50%. You have to have hand sanitizers, masks you have to give customers. I mean, there's a lot of additional expenses, but one part of this is that, sure, it might cost an extra $1 to provide all that to a customer, but this fee is $1.50 or $2. So they're actually profiting off of these fees. All that being said, I mean, we've had 17 straight weeks of 1 million unemployment claims. So I mean, it's over 17 million unemployed. So people's wallets are stretched thin. Who does this fall on? Should this be baked into prices if you're a smart business? I mean, that'll bring in, ruckus in terms of people being upset about increased prices. But I mean, how are businesses in the right? Are they in the wrong? How do we deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, nickel and diming consumers has always been something that will make them angry and make them less loyal to your business. And there's no better way to repel customers than to add a line item fee like that. And so, I mean, it's tough because these big corporate businesses, they have the ability to not have to charge that. And so they're going to just say, come one, come all, come on customers. We're not charging that much. We're still keeping our prices low, whether it's like Walmart, Amazon, all these companies, they're not charging any COVID fees. And so it makes it a lot easier for those corporate businesses to continue to retain and attract new customers, where the small business, I mean, the only way that they can stay afloat is charge more for the same thing. And people don't want to pay more for the same thing they were paying less for 2 months ago, especially when they don't have cash, especially when they're worried about finances. So, it's going to continue to create this gap between the small and the mid-size and large businesses. And I hate to see it, but it's basic human psychology. We're not going to continue to pay more for
Yeah.
the same thing.
No, and it's almost creating a larger divide between corporate America and the small business.
The S&P 5, baby.
The S&P 5. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's that, they have less revenue, more cost. Their margins are getting smaller. So, I mean, something has to be done. But I think it's on the education and the communication. I mean, if you're upfront and just say, hey, we got to charge for this. I mean, if you're going to line item, COVID, whatever it is, why not just go a step further and itemize what all those things are?
Add some more value
Two
that
pumps
doesn't
of hand
cost
sanitizer, 25 cents, a mask, 30 cents. Like, I mean, at least people know what they're getting and know that you're not profiting. And I think it just comes down to the education.
What's the beauty of perceptual value? If you stack a few things onto if you stack a couple of line items onto what you're doing and say, hey, we're going to add more value. We're going to give you a head massage at the haircut place. And that's why we're going to charge a couple more bucks. Like, get creative about how you're going to increase your margins.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. It's like, it doesn't cost anything to rub anyone's head. So, I mean.
Right. So before we get into our next story, want to thank State 48, proudly partnering with us for this episode. We love State 48. We thank you guys for everything you're doing for the community and really just representing the Arizona small business world extremely well. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, they have clothing for all inspired by Arizona. They just dropped ASU collaboration, which is blowing up. So go check it out. State48.com. As we head into our next story, so going back to the coin shortage, Chick-Fil-A is trying to do their part in getting more of their change. So they're offering a free meal essentially for every $10 that someone brings in rolled coins. Granted, you can only redeem that free meal on Wednesdays during a select time that they mentioned. So hopefully you're free during that time that they mention. But there are other businesses that are jumping on that bandwagon as well. In Wisconsin, there's a community state bank that's giving donations for every $5 increment of rolled coins that comes in. Kroger, the country's largest supermarket, they stopped giving out coins, which is weird because we actually just got some yesterday at Fry's. But CVS and Wawa, they basically have said that customers have to pay with exact change. If they don't, they can't give any money back. And so, just throw on another thing to 2020. I mean, are we really at the point where we have to give donations and free meals for a couple extra quarters? Or, what are your thoughts on this entire situation, Chaz?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. And I think that we're going to see a lot of change here. No pun intended. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wonder what can be done if we round up or round down to whole numbers, or if there's a way to create donation incentives for, hey, your meal costs, $9.48 and you're giving me a $10 bill, or it's all whole numbers. Maybe they can donate the remaining like 52 cents to a good cause. I think there's a lot of things that can be done here to, just be inventive during this time. But I mean, it's crazy. I think the writing's on the wall that, cash may not be the end all be all here, whether it's in the US or just globally. It seems that it's not what it used to be.
It's interesting because I always thought about that as well, just using whole numbers, why use any change? But then it's you bring in tax. I mean, here in Tempe, you got 8% tax.
What do you do?
What do you do? Raise it to 10% to make a whole, and then raise everyone's taxes by 2%. I mean, everyone's gonna be happy with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are your thoughts on just the whole digital currency? I mean, it's are you for that? I mean, it seems
as we speak, we've seen Bitcoin rise from like under $9,000 to almost $10,500. Ethereum is going. These are two largest cryptocurrencies out there right now. Are both absolutely blowing up. And our next story, we talk a little bit about the gold price. And so, I mean, I truly believe that the writing is on the wall here. These type of stories, it's something that is just, more streamlined, more efficient to consumers. And I know there are going to be issues with data privacy and everything if we do move to a completely digital currency, but that's why I think we need to be making rules and doing research now so that we aren't being reactive about the time that we completely phase out coins altogether.
And do you think countries are going to want to do that? Because essentially you're decentralizing the currency, and when you do that, the government doesn't have control over it. Governments don't really like when they don't have control.
Venezuela, Argentina. I'm sure there's plenty of other countries that need to do this before they just continue to hyperinflate themselves over and over again. So.
Yep. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Well, getting into our next story, piggybacking off of what we just talked about, gold price hits a record high amid fears of COVID crisis. The price of gold has climbed to a record high, reaching $1,943 an ounce as investors plow their money into precious metal amid fears of the impact of COVID pandemic on the global economy. In a worsening U.S.-China trade row, the spot gold price rose 2.2%. Yeah, I mean, this is higher than in the financial crisis of 2008 or September 11th. It's crazy to just see this going up. And I mean, it's riding a very fine line that's in lockstep with the trends that we're talking about. I mean, I don't think it's ironic to see that, these cryptocurrencies are crushing it at the same time that gold price is crushing it. It seems like we're making investments in a lot of different areas outside of cash. But what does it say about our economy, Dustin?
No, it can get a little scary. I mean, ultimately, it's usually when the economy's doing good, gold goes down because people want to put their money in the dollar. When the dollar's doing bad, gold goes up. And so when gold is going up, our dollar is hurting, and it's gone down, I think 4 or 5% over the last week, which is not so great. If we get to a point to where the dollar's worth nothing and not the global currency, I mean, it's America could lose its dominance as a superpower country. That being said, that's probably why we're seeing Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies going up, because if people have less faith in the dollar, these other currencies are going to go up. And so, like I said, it could be something pretty bad, especially whenever we're printing trillions of dollars to stimulate the economy. You're only going to create inflation, which then weakens the dollar even more. And so it's, I know that we got to help people out now, but we also, helping people out now might cost an entire country, kind of where it's at.
Mark my words, fiat currency coming back. I think that the whole idea here is let's hyperinflate the US dollar and create stimulus to keep us afloat. And then we'll just reset it back to the price of gold, just like it was pre-Nixon era. And we'll be back to having the strongest dollar, the strongest currency, because we will reverse our inflation by doing so. And I mean, that's what seems to be the trend. It's either going to be that or some kind of universal like cryptocurrency that is completely online. And I mean, I think there's going to be a big fork in the road where we have to decide, is it going to be fiat? Is it going to be decentralized currency? But it's going to be one or the other.
Might be a dumb question, but what is fiat currency?
I mean, it's backing the value of the US dollar with precious metals like gold and silver so that it will retain its value and not continue to rise. It'll be even with the price of what the ounce of gold or ounce of silver is, which, when that number keeps rising, that is indicative of, this seems to be the case.
Wouldn't all other countries just love us? We just keep printing money, wait for it to go up, and then go back here, make the dollar even stronger. It's like we just wrote our own interest-free loan and pocketed on the money. I mean,
are you going to put that past Donald Trump, dude? That's my question to you. Okay, getting into our last story, a little bit lighter-hearted story here. Instagram is now letting users pin comments in an attempt to kind of allow users to self-control the content moderation on their own posts. They're allowed to pin up to 3 comments, and it kind of creates their own narrative, right? If you have a few comments and you want to highlight the things that are, the best comments, or if you have somebody verified that's commenting on your post and being able to put that at the top to show that you have some credibility. I think it does a lot for creators. I think it does a lot for kind of subliminal storytelling outside of the post itself. But Facebook has kind of claimed that this is more for mental health and being able to, have positive comments be what people are seeing more often. I don't know if that's necessarily the implications of this, but, what are your thoughts? Will this help? Who is this going to help most, I guess?
I mean, the mental health of who? The creator, or the people that are consuming the creator's content? I mean, as a creator, if I can pin my own stuff, sweet. I had the most awesome comments at the top, and I feel better. But I mean, I don't think there's anything big. I mean, it's advertisers have always had the ability to remove comments. I mean, it's kind of controlling your own narrative there as well. And I think even more so, because if you're getting rid of negative comments and only showing positive, at least if you're pinning 3, the negative will still show up. So I mean, I don't think that this is going to be big for creators or for people consuming their content. Do you think it's good for do you think it's good for social platforms in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk around this content moderation. I think this is really the first step towards an attempt of kind of crowdsourcing that moderation, where we know now Facebook pays a company to do the moderation. So it's kind of like the moderation's happening on their agenda. So maybe letting users kind of moderate the content. And if it starts in comments, maybe it leads to something else, another door can open. So I think in that sense, it could be positive. But at the end of the day, they get a lot of backlash for this proliferation of hate speech with the advertisements and a lot of people boycotting there. And so I think that this can proliferate, just as much of the comments. If you have 100 people saying, this is a scam, don't do it. And then one person that is on a bot account says, this is amazing. And they pin that comment at the top. It's like, people aren't going to read past the headline, past the first comment or two. Now you've really set yourself up kind of, in a very sleazy type of way. And Facebook's giving them the power to do that. So I think there's positives and negatives here.
No, I think you're onto something with allowing the people to moderate. I mean, essentially, it should just be based off of how many, the quantity of comments. I know that's tough, but I mean, how many reactions each comment has. I mean, you'll quickly see a couple of them. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, dude, if you're going to buy something because the first comment is positive and you don't read the other 98.
Yeah. You're setting yourself up for failure anyway.
Yeah, you got to do your own due diligence.
I imagine a world where Facebook has a fleet of users that are getting paid by the post for how many posts they moderate. You could sit there for 5 hours and make, $100 moderating content. I think that would be an amazing, pivot for them. But, it'll be interesting to see. But interesting stories today. I really think that the gold is crazy for me. I mean, just looking at that price rising and the crypto prices rising amid, the dollar becoming weaker and weaker. The writing is on the wall. Something's going to happen. And, it's just going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, my favorite one is the pivoting. I mean, it's amazing to see how many businesses are pivoting. It's awesome to see the forecasts are heading north of pre-COVID times, and it just shows the power of entrepreneurship, shows the power of capitalism here. I mean, the fact that you can have a business and just change in one day. I mean, it's amazing, and I truly think that we're gonna look back and go, wow, what a horrible time that led to such a great time, and that's what I'm pumped for.
Have
full, baby.
I can appreciate that outlook. I can appreciate that outlook. Well, thank you again for State 48 for working with us to make this possible. And thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you've been watching the Non-Corporate Network. This is Entreprenews. If you have your own story that you want to bring to the world, we want to help you do it. Check us out at ncnbroadcast.com. Check us out on all platforms. Listen to the podcast. If you don't have time to, check us out in person, we're everywhere you can get your podcast. So reach out to us there. If you have a story you want to hear us talk about, shoot us a DM. And we'll add it to the agenda. But Dustin, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys for tuning in. And speaking of in person, we had our first in person on set. So thanks, Mom. Our biggest fan.
Hey, I love it. Yeah, no, we appreciate everybody that's out here supporting us. And thanks to the whole team for making this possible. And we're going to be bringing on a few more shows here in the next month. So be on the lookout for that. But, with that, my name's Chaz Vandemotter.
Dustin Trout.
And you've been watching Entreprenews. We'll be back on Wednesday morning. Get after it. Get to hustling. You got work to do.
See you Wednesday.
Peace.